I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the folks at home. Oh, God. Is there any public comment on agenda items? If it's on the agenda and you'd like to speak about it, please let me know. Anybody? Anybody, anything? No? All right. Now, we're going to interrupt our agenda here in a few minutes as soon as Councilman King gets back. So I'll continue with the meeting as it is, and when Councilman King comes back, we will suspend the agenda. I have the minutes of the January 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, we have a bunch of budget transfers. As if I'm not, excuse me, if I'm not losing my voice already, I will by the time I get done reading these. I'll read a few of them, and I'll ask for your approval and continue on. We'd like to move from the town board cell phone account to the town board other expenses, $512, which is over budget due to storm-related activities. Court attendance personal services to court clerk 1 salary, $2,156, 2023 budgeted incorrectly. Court attendance personal services to equipment, $200 for purchase of radios. Court attendance personal services to court other expenses, $2,125. Supplies purchased at the year end was higher than in the budget. Court attendance personal services for court training, $66. Court training was higher than budgeted. Any questions on that, board? No, okay. Comptroller other expenses to comptroller postage, $115. Postage was over budget. Assessor salary to assessor other expenses, $287. Purchase of office supplies was higher than budgeted. Assessor salary, tax certs, legal fees, $2,800. Legal higher than budgeted. Assessor salary to legal action fees, $5,115. Chargebacks from county higher than budgeted. Town clerk other expenses to town clerk printing, $813. Over budget due to legal ads for storm bonds. Health insurance legal, to legal, $4,203 over budget due to legal fees for storm bonds. Highway garage utilities for traffic signs, $106. Traffic signs were over budget. Building department consultant to building department clerk secretary, $1,392. Over budget due to hiring temp during clerk's vacation. Building department consultant to building department cell phone, $600, which was budgeted incorrectly. Any questions so far? No. Okay. Highway superintendent equipment to highway superintendent clerk salary, $1,548 year-end accrual, and overtime was not budgeted. Highway superintendent equipment to highway cell phone, $600 budgeted incorrectly. Dial-a-bus matching share to dial-a-bus other expenses, $1,300, $113 over budget. Dial-a-bus fuel to dial-bus cell phone, $593 budgeted incorrectly. Dial-a-bus fuel to dial-a-bus vehicle maintenance, $284 over budget. Parks Salaries to Parks General Repairs, $1,828 over budget due to soil testing from the flood. Long Pond's salaries to recreation programs, other expenses, $3,995 over budget due to additional chlorine for the pool. Long Pond salaries to recreation programs, supplies, $6,180 to cover additional uniforms. Long Pond maintenance salaries to Roe Park pool personal services, $7,378. Additional lifeguards for summer recreation. Zoning legal to zoning other expenses, $355 over budget. Planning Board personal services to Planning Board clerk, $263 over budget. Building Department consultant to codification, $1,800 budgeted incorrectly. Sanitation vehicle maintenance to sanitation supplies, $1,332 over budget because of garbage can purchases. Sanitation training to sanitation fuel, $763 over budget. Sanitation training to sanitation payment collection salary, $462. Collection stipend was not budgeted correctly. Unemployment insurance to workman's comp, $2,500 under budgeted. Police fuel to police vehicle maintenance, $1,865 over budget. Any other questions so far? Okay. Social Security to workman's comp, $2,210 over budget. Health insurance buyout, $2,001 buyout or under budgeted. Salary machine repair to highway other expenses, $5,538 over budget. Unemployment insurance to workers' comp, $120 over budget. Social Security to health insurance buyout, $973 under budgeted. Ambulance fuel to ambulance vehicle maintenance, $240 over budget. Ambulance training to oxygen and other ambulance supplies, $3,412 over the budget. Social Security to health insurance, $942 over budget. Workers' comp to health insurance buyout, $2,852 over budget. Sewer, other expenses to sewer cell phone, $93 under budgeted. Social Security to workman's comp, $235 under budgeted. Water billing personal services to water operations personal services, $246 over budget. Social Security to workers' comp, $80 over budget. And three more. Grant review to EMT personal services, $3,650. This is to move grant money to cover healthcare worker bonus. Grant revenue to ambulance equipment, $47,400 to move grant money to cover fly car. And federal bus aid to dial-up bus equipment, $14,903 to move the money to cover bus portion. Any questions? No. Being no questions, I'll assume that the town board approves.
Well, let's have a motion in a second.
Well, then,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Thank you. You realize we snuck that by our attorney by having me read all those. Now, there's a few other dollars and cents things. I transferred $95,000 from the 2023 personal services line to the police vehicle reserve fund. I I transferred $101,978 from the consolidated account to the paying account. The big items are Cargill Incorporated, $4,893. Chemung Supply Corporation, $7,588. Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Warwick, $17,573. O&R, $6,359. And Office of the State Controller, $6,926. Okay. I think we got this on, and I got these two things here too. Okay, as most of you know, on January the 12th, at approximately 12:10 a.m., the Town of Highlands Police Department was notified of a structure fire on Rivercrest Road in Fort Montgomery. Upon arrival within 1 minute of dispatch, Town of Highlands police officers Brandon Hill and Brian Newberry confirmed the occupied structure was fully engulfed in the flames. Both officers began to ensure the occupants were out of the residence. One occupant was attempting to rescue a pet pig, and he was on the front porch. Officer Hill was thrown from the porch while attempting to get the occupant to its safety due to an explosion from within the residence. Officer Hill immediately got up and returned to the porch where he assisted Officer Newberry in bringing this individual to safety, and then alerted other occupants to exit the residence. They then alerted adjacent neighbors to remove themselves to an area of safety. The fire was extinguished by members of the Fort Montgomery Fire Department with the assistance of several neighboring agencies. The investigation into this cause of the fire is being conducted by the New York State Police Troop FBCI. As commanding officer of the Town of Highlands Police Department, it is my recommendation that both officers Hill and Newberry be commended for their actions, for which were instrumental in preventing the loss of life and serious injury to the public at a grave risk to their own safety. I'd like to ask the chief, both chiefs, and Officer Newberry and Officer Hill, would you come up by the microphone here? Come on up with this. Chief, before we make a presentation, you have something to say?
Well, you pretty much said what I had. Both officers definitely should be commended for their actions that night, putting themselves in grave danger with no protective equipment. They were instrumental in saving several lives. And the pig is living a very nice life at an animal sanctuary in upstate New York.
I have a certificate of recognition is hereby presented to Town of Highlands Police Officer Brian Newberry for his actions which are instrumental in preventing serious injury or loss of life to the public at grave risk to his own safety. All right, congratulations. And I have a certificate of recognition presented to Town of Highlands Police Officer Brandon Hill for his actions which were instrumental in preventing serious injury or loss of life to the public at grave risk to his own safety. Congratulations. We have a new deputy chief, and I'm going to ask him to read this.
The Town of Highlands Notorious Citation Award presented to police officers Brian Newberry, Town of Highlands Police Department. For meritorious action, along with police officer Brandon Hill, in the daring rescue moments before a house explosion on January 12, 2024. His heroic actions resulted in the rescue of 6 individuals and 1 pet pig.
Town of Highlands Meritorious Citation Award presented to Police Officer Brandon Hill, Town of Highlands Police Department, for meritorious action along with Police Officer Brian Newberry in the daring rescue moments before a house explosion on January 12, 2024. His heroic actions resulted in the rescue of 6 individuals and 1 pet pig.
Our liaison to the police department, I'm sure he has something to say.
I just want to say, listen, on behalf of the board, the town, job well done. Thank you so much for all that you do. That's really indicative of who you are. I've been knowing you for a long time, so this is proud of you. Thank you. Thank you. What that be?
We're going to continue with our meeting. If anyone was here for the ceremony and would like to leave, you most certainly may.
Downstairs, I got a chance to see the camera. It's going in and out for whatever reason, like sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Board liaison reports. Councilman Sullivan.
Mine's really long. You sure want me to go first? Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Next.
I knew we'd do that. All right, so my first report is on sewer. Everybody should have gotten reports. I sent them out to everybody today. The average flow for January 2024 was 143,000 gallons per day with 9.2 inches of rain, which is 119% of our capacity. The calculated average per day flow rate for the year 2023 annum was 102,000 gallons per day, which is over 80% capacity. We all know we had a lot of rain, but the DEC still looks at that capacity, and we have to think about it. Bob sent me a thing about a grant possibility. I sent the communication to our engineers. I think I copied you on it, Bob.
Yes.
About the concept of debating, do we add on to the sewer plant in the future if it's even possible or plausible? And we've talked about sending the Highlands Green Trailer Park to Cragston, which require a lot of communication, and the sewer district will most likely have to pay for that, which might be half the cost of expanding the plant. We don't know, and then there's a revenue from the trailer park. The engineers have not called me back. I'm gonna call them again tomorrow. I sent the email to John Russo and to John O'Rourke, and we've asked him to do that for the last couple of years, because in the grant that I was looking at, the EFC grant that you sent is like 325 million, I believe. I got to read it more carefully. I know it involves water. I'm not sure if it involves sewer also. I got to read it more carefully. I think it's both, but that's what we're going after if it's plausible.
I'm pretty sure it's.
So that's my sewer report. Nancy is now the liaison to Planning and the Zoning Board of Appeals, but the taxpayers should be very thankful that she's been going to school to be the very best board member she can be, so she hasn't been able to make all the meetings. And the Planning, they meet on the third Thursday of the month. Normally they're after the ZBA. This month they're before. They're this week, this Thursday. And I believe Bear Mountain Pizza has a public hearing on the restaurant portion of the building. It's 7 o'clock. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
And, you know, something I want to just kind of bring up. So there's social media and all this stuff, and there's me up here talking right here. You should read the legal notices every week. That's officially how it's communicated. That stuff is in there, and Mary Jane takes care of it both in Cornwall and down here in Highland Falls. It was in there, as all of them are. That should be your first place you go to see what we're doing in this building with different things. Just wanted to kind of say that. The Zoning Board of Appeals, they'll meet the third Wednesday, which is next week. And they have a public hearing. They had 3 public hearings, I think. One of them has been deferred until next month, and that was for a property up near Roe Pond up here. The building over here behind me with the empty foundation, they're on the agenda for a public hearing. And down in Fort Montgomery, the Garrison House, 915, they're on the agenda for a public hearing. It's open to the public, it's at 7 o'clock, so you heard about it here. On water. We averaged 83,600 gallons per day for the month of January. That's way down from what it was a year ago or a couple of years ago. A little report I'm going to give on Martin Luther King Day of 2023. I gave a report on a break at the Corbin Hill Booster Station, which was about 90,000 gallons. I communicated that to the village board. I also communicated to Gary Phillips, the water liaison, and I'd just like to take a moment to thank Gary for his public service. I'm not sure who they're going to have as a liaison in the future, but I look forward to whoever it is. In early November of this year, about the time we were flushing hydrants, we had another plastic pipe break in this building. And this time, it didn't blow the garage door open, but it blew the entry door open. And so we have since replaced all plastic piping in there, which is subject to the vibration from water flowing and from the pumps vibrating, with ductile iron pipes. I sent everybody a little video of that if you watch it, the whole thing up there, except the repair where the water tank ties in. That was repaired, and that's why there was a boil alert sent out to 13 properties, all of which would get the effluent from that tank up on Corbin Hill, and I think there's one in 79 Canterbury. So it wasn't for the whole town. I saw Facebook, as it usually does, had little chicken, little with the sky falling type thing. So everybody's cool. The tank has been filled. They communicate with the Department of Health, and Gary took it upon himself to communicate this directly with the mayor of Highland Falls, so they're cognizant of what's going on up there. Highway. So I currently have a fairly intense project underway with the highway. I have pictures of everything, all the equipment, all the inventory, and I'm putting together a long-term, what should we be doing with what? What's a piece of junk? What's functional? It's going to take me a little while to finish that up, but I have that as a work in progress. And everybody knows that we have a new garbage truck that was going to be coming. There's been some delays with that. Nonetheless, it's coming, because I was going to do an analysis on a truck that only has 4 tons in it as opposed to a truck that has 11 tons in it driving 20 miles away, because when all this stuff was originally bought, it was meant to go to the transfer station out in 293. So now you have a truck that does a route that has to go dump a couple of times a day as opposed to having 9 or 11 tons. There's no need for that analysis because the new truck is coming very soon, and I believe the new truck has a bit of a challenge with, if they have to dump recyclables by hand, it's a rather high lift. So at some point in the future, we're going to be talking about buying recycling cans or not. I had mine, Tiffany brought my brand new one here a couple of years ago, and I displayed it for everybody. I paid $80 for it. It helps them because the guy can just use a one-armed bandit to dump the thing and move on. And we're gonna have to visit that, I think, in a not too distant future. So for the, let me get my numbers right. For the year 2022, we had 431 tons of recyclables and 2,944 tons of municipal solid waste. For 2023, we had 421 tons of recyclables and 3,049 tons of municipal solid waste. That's about 12%. Most of these recycling organizations like Erman out there would like you to get to 20%. We're not at 20% by weight, we're at 12%. And I know recyclables have gone up. Still, if people can make a concerted effort to improve your recycling, that helps all of us out. The Community Environmental Advisory Committee, I kind of gypped Olga the other night. I Zoomed briefly with them because I was going to a hockey game at West Point. We're planning for Earth Day, which for us is on April 20th at the library. A repair cafe is being excogitated. Do you like that word? It's being excogitated. We're thinking about it. Along with other programs, and our county recycling coordinator, Erman, you'll have to say his last name, Silkovic, will be there. And I zoomed from Highlands Social, which used to be Gracie's Bar, and I want to let people know it was a very nice place. It was very, Rotary. I went to the meeting last Thursday at invitation. I'd like to thank George Biscup and Bill Stone for the invite. A project that Bob and I have been following for the last 4 years is coming to fruition. The project is called the Champlain Hudson Power Line. It's pure DC current. It's going from Quebec right underneath Lake Champlain, right in the middle of the Hudson, or maybe not in the middle, and going down to Stony Point, going back on land until it gets down to Congress, then it's going back in the Hudson and the East River down to Astoria. Well, it would be converted back to AC current and will represent 20% of all of New York City's energy, 20%. And so they had a Coast Guard person, Sabrina Taylor, and her associate Luke Hollahan made that presentation. It was a very good presentation. That project is starting in March, has to be done by the end of 2025, so you'll see action out in the Hudson here in the not too distant future. Just give a little plug for the battle site. I went there yesterday. They had a really good presentation on wintered wildlife. So where else can you go before the Super Bowl to see piles of coyotes scat? And also they do a good job. And they talked about, since they've closed Indian Point, guy down there, Peter Kurtul, is very knowledgeable. The water's colder, and there's fairly significant less bald eagles because the fish aren't there. And he said in the whole state of New York, there's 360 bald eagles, either couples or individual bald eagles. I thought it was higher than that, but it's 360. And we had a little discussion on the history of DDT and all that, and I have in my collection of stuff from West Point when I was a kid, they had the green insecticide cans with the wrapper around them that said DDT right on it. I still have one. I'm not going to use it, but I still have one, and that's my report.
Thank you very much. That was a very good report. I was making fun of it to begin with, but that was an excellent report. Councilman King.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Not as much as my colleague, but a few things. So I think four things specifically. So the first one is we met on January 31st for our second Town of Highlands Emergency Management / Disaster Preparedness meeting. In this case, we included the Town of Highlands Police Department, Town of Highlands Fire Department, Village of Highland Falls Police Department, Village of Highland Falls Fire Department, the Ambulance Corps, West Point representatives, elected officials from both the town board and the village board, to include the mayor and the supervisor. And we had our emergency management coordinator, Mr. Kurt Hahn, present at that meeting, and some volunteers who are now participating going forward with this particular committee. It was a great meeting by all accounts. From the feedback that I received, everybody saw the benefit in coming together in advance of an event and brainstorming about how we could be more prepared should something like a storm or otherwise come our direction. And so my intention is to do that meeting monthly, and then on a quarterly basis, we'll bring in our coordinator, Kurt Hahn, from, he lives over in Cornwall. And I also like to mention that we have dubbed one of our own, Ms. Tiffany Montalese, as the deputy coordinator for the Emergency Management Committee. So she will be the assistant to Kurt Hahn in that respect. And she's already leaning forward on some of the policies and reviewing those things so we can be more up to date. So thank Tiffany for that. Secondly, I met with the high school principal, Miss, what's her name? Miss Principal?
Robin Haberman.
Yes, Miss Robin Haberman, and her assistant principal, her one of the students, and one of the staff in regards to the 2024 Black History Month program. Last year, I helped them establish a program and thought that this year I'd just be a spectator, but they signed me up again. And so I'll be helping them pull it off. It's going to be right now scheduled for February 28th, which is a Wednesday. The intention this year, which is unlike last year. Last year, if you were there, we did a morning program. I think it was lengthy, a couple hours or so maybe. This year, we're doing the, what they call a pep rally schedule. So it's at the end of the day. And so you start at 1, and roughly around 2 or 1:50, the kids who must catch the bus can depart, and those kids who want to stay can stay and do a meet and greet with the panel of speakers that I'll have. In the current panel of speakers are 1, the U.S. Army Garrison West Point, Command Sergeant Major Michelle Frazier. 2, Dr. Andrea Matthews, who is now the Deputy Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Marist College. So she was here, she left, and now she's back up in Poughkeepsie, so she'll be one of our speakers. And then we'll have also Colonel retired Hicks McGowan, who we had for MLK Day. If you were there, you know that was a treat. So we're gonna bring those ladies back and put them in a panel. And we also have another special treat. Miss Ronnie Coffey is gonna put together a presentation of the Buffalo Soldiers that she's gonna display at that particular event. And we have a few kids that also will participate in one way, shape, or form. So if you're doing nothing, or you got some interest, come out on February 28th, which is Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month for Black History Month at James I. O'Neill High School. And then I also met with the superintendent, deputy superintendent of the schools there, Highlands Falls, Fort Montgomery School District, in regards to mental health for our youth and how I could be of help in that respect. For those who don't know, I'm currently a student at Columbia University studying the master's degree in social work, and so I've offered my assistance in that respect, and that will be ongoing to see how, because I'm told that we have 3 social workers for the district, that they rotate between schools or something to that effect. I'm just going to put my resources myself into that mix some way, shape, or however they see fit. And then the final thing would be I met with the center in regards to a program that we're going to start that will be servicing veterans. That's still to be determined, but the premise is that there'll be somebody on station on a particular time of day to deal with folks who are veterans that may have issues that have to be addressed. Subject to anybody's questions, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Councilman DeWitt, please.
Thank you. That's usually I got to rely on. Anyway, just want to give a shout out to Aaron Falk, who's been working hard with our highway department and, dealing with the village as far as getting, there's always programs going on and things for the youth. He's working hard on getting our baseball fields up to speed for the upcoming Little League season. I think he's got a plan pretty much put together on kind of reusing the senior field at Roe Park. And I know he's been working with you guys up at the highway and try to get something going on at Brooks. It's July 9th, the gifts keep on coming and we're waiting for funding and the usual, but let's hope Aaron keeps coming through and we'll have a good solid Little League season and our fields will be up to speed soon. We are expecting a snowstorm tonight, and I just want to remind if anybody has any power issues, give O&R a call at 877-434-4100. You can also text them at MyORU 69678. If you text out, that's another way of reporting any outages in case this storm hits hard tonight. Of course, for anybody else with a smartphone, you can always download the O&R app. It's a great way to keep up with what's going on, especially with outages and reporting an outage. On the topic of snow tomorrow, Tiffany, I see you back there. We expect any problems with dial-a-bus tomorrow, or?
The dial-a-bus is already off the road. We already called this evening just to let residents know that we won't be.
Okay, so
Whomever.
Dial Bus is going to be taking the day off for the storm tomorrow, which is a complete safety precaution. Doesn't do any good sliding around a bus with people serving the community. Okay, so we expect with the end of the storm that Wednesday it'll be up and running as normal, correct? Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Another note, this past week, I attended the Community Coalition meeting up at O'Neill High School. Again, the Community Coalition deals with issues with our youth here in the community. And one of the things they're talking about is just things that possibly are available for sale at our local smoke shops. We just want to make sure that kids they do a lot of due diligence and run a lot of programs and a lot of events to help benefit the youth in our communities. So it's a good group of people, and it's school members, West Point, and the town of Highlands and the village. People come together to work again on things that'll affect our youth, make sure everybody's, kids got a good example to go forward. This Wednesday is another Cliff meeting, the Community Leaders Information Forum. That happens at West Point. West Point's nice enough to invite any local officials that wish to attend, and it's a good way we keep our communications open with West Point. It's a good place to vent, talk, network about any issues in our community and how we relate to West Point. There's never a shortage of any of that, but again, it's something that helps keep the level of communication open between our two communities, and again, I'm always honored to be part of that. Speaking of honor and privilege, I want to give a big shout out to the Hudson Valley Women's Association and Friends. They held an appreciation luncheon this past Saturday, honoring two businesses that have unfortunately retired, and that's Allen's Import Service and Napa. And again, to shout out Alan Monk, was there for 48 years, and Jimmy Ripa worked with him for 45 of those years, and Robert Froggy Jacoya was with him for 35 years. So again, the association lunch, Nancy and I both had the privilege of attending, and it was really nice to give them a shout. The other one they honored was the Napa Auto Body Parts. Kevin Smedman, who started working at Napa in 1978, and I think he closed it just a few years ago. Last year, thank you, Nancy. And his crew, Allison Nichols, Elisa Luciano, Johnny Walter, and Ben Smedman, which again, like you said, any business, we know like Allen's or Napa, they're kind of like family. You could always go in there and have a good conversation, of course, get the service and any information you need. And I want to shout out to Amelina and the association. Thank you for allowing me the privilege of presenting the awards to Allen's Import and Napa. It was a really nice event, and we really are going to be sad to see them go. And to see them have left already. They have left the building, yes. That's it. And again, on privilege, thank you. It was good to see and honor our two police officers who really, Newberry and Hill, who obviously went out of the way to do the right thing, to do their job at their calling and help people in a very scary situation and risk themselves in the process of doing it. And thank you, chiefs, and Ty and the board to honor those guys tonight. Again, a nice week of privilege to see these things happen in our community. So thank you very much. That's all I got.
Councilwoman Sporvet?
Thank you. Thank you, Richie, for covering zoning and planning for that. I will be up to speed soon enough. Other liaison is for the ambulance corps, who in January answered 44 calls. There were 48 calls dispatched. they couldn't respond to because there was already an ambulance out, and our second ambulance was getting repaired. So that, hopefully, is being dealt with right now. But the other two, because there were no drivers. So I would encourage you to consider volunteering with the Town of Highlands Ambulance Corps. One of those calls last month was for my brother, and if not for them, he would be dead right now. Between that and at the blood that he received at St. Luke's in the emergency room. So that brings me to my next point, which is the blood drive at the Highland Falls Fire Department on the 26th of February. Arla James is in charge of that, and you can sign up. It's from 1 to 7, and I checked. There's plenty of spots open for you to donate, so please consider doing that. The other things that I have here have to do with our neurodiverse community. Community Connections generally gathers every Saturday for sensory play at O'Neill in the cardio room, which is near the gym. I have been to that, and it's a lot of fun. And then Lisa Sibley, who's got a lot of things going on. She's got her Second Chances meeting, which next meets on the 22nd from 6:30 to 7:30. All these things take place. Second Chances, what I'm going to do next, are all at the United Methodist Mission Center, which for the oldest people here is the old post office, but across, but at the end of a couple of doors down from Dunkin' Donuts there on Main Street. Second Chances meeting, as I said, on the 22nd. On the third Sunday of every month, she does, Lisa hosts a giveaway of helmets for kids, bike helmets. You can also trade jigsaw puzzles. You can just come in and talk. If anything, Lisa loves to talk to anybody. And then her next big event, which is Happy Brain Day, will take place there on April 27th. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Chief, do you have anything?
Go over to the microphone.
Yes, sir.
My normal first meeting of the month statistics. Obviously, we know about the fire. But during the month of January, we responded to 159 calls for service, performed 322 directed patrol assignments, made 2 arrests, 1 interagency assist, did 96 car stops, and issued 39 traffic tickets. I believe we responded to 8 motor vehicle accidents in the month of January.
Thank you. I saw on Facebook one of those accidents.
Well, that was the one Friday?
The cars upside down.
That's a February accident.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay. Justin, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Kelly, do you have anything?
Just on the financial reports, there was a transfer of police salaries to personal, to the police vehicle reserve fund that you missed. I just don't want to have a meeting and right into the budget transfers.
Yeah, I've got that, 95,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, you did?
It was, not from your list, but it's on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gary, do you have anything?
No, sir, no. We have not had a single disaster fund application for about 3 or 4 weeks. So the last round we dispersed over $1,200. So there are still out there. So if you know anybody that needs assistance, there's still applications at the town hall and at the library. If we get some, we'll reconvene the committee, and we'll vote on it, and then we'll go ahead and disperse funds.
Could you just review the monetary value or what they can ask for?
There's at least, I think, $1,800, just in or about $1,800 left in that fund.
Okay, and you can get that by,
From Ann.
how much money can you get individually?
Up to $400.
Up to 400, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And even if you get 400 initially and you feel that you need more, you can always apply again. Not necessarily you'll get a second coming of that, but you can always apply again to see if the committee will go ahead and award it. So we're always open to applications.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got a question for you, Gary. Is any intention to try to fundraise, or is it, once it's out, it's out?
So how the funding is, this is what I understand. So the funding works from just donations from various individuals, like West Point AOG had an infusion of funds. We personally don't go out and fundraise and that stuff. It comes from donations from either the county or from West Point AOG or certain organizations. I believe Ann Mimsolina is the one that heads as far as securing funding and going out and getting donations.
I was just curious. I thought the public might need to know, because they may think that it's going to be replenished, or it's going to be always a well there that they can go to. But as it stands, there's 1,800 left. And
1,800, right. And when it gets to a certain level, Ann's very good about going out and saying, hey, if there's anybody out there that would like to contribute, and there's organizations, if wealthy individuals, or if you have a couple bucks that you're willing to part with, and you want to write a check to the Center of Highlands, to the disaster fund, I think it's an account. You can go ahead and do that, and I believe Ann has all that information.
okay, thank you.
I have a letter from Ray Hall asking to be reappointed to his job under the Board of Assessment Review for 5 years. Do I have a motion to reappoint Ray?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. I have an amendment to the salary schedule, which we forgot to put in a stipend for Channel 23. The clerk that does the work on Channel 23, it's a $1,200 stipend. Ask for a motion to amend the salary schedule to...
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. As we're getting a month and a half, 2 months away from spring, for those of you that might wonder, what are we doing about cleaning up after that storm that we had more than 6 months ago? I have the scope of work that we are going to use for Brooks's Park. That will go out to bid. And if anyone would like to see it or what have you, I do have it in my office. Just stop by, I'll make a copy for you. I also have the RFPs for Fort Montgomery's roads that are in need of repair from the storm. I have those in my office if anyone would like to see what's going on their roads or what we're planning to do, because we're going to hit the roads running in the spring as soon as we can. As soon as the blacktop plants are up and operational, we're going to try and get Fort Montgomery put back together again the way it should look.
Supervisor, just with the sometimes regular with FEMA, you may want to just have quick motions approving the scope of work at Brooks and the RFPs.
The RFPs are not 100% right now.
Oh, okay, certainly.
They're not ready for a motion.
Still being
Yes.
understood. Sorry.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, if I could ask our highway dial-a-bus and everything else that she does, could you tell us about Earth Day and the event?
Sure. So for Earth Day, Olga had mentioned having an e-waste event or shredding event as well for Earth Day. We usually hold an event at the library through the environmental committee. It's very successful. I figured it's the perfect time to hold an electronic waste disposal event. We've done that in the past multiple times. It's very successful. So a perfect day for that would be the same day that the environmental committee is holding the Earth Day event.
And that's on April 20th?
April 20th.
Okay. Olga, do you have anything on that? No?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. I have a listing of almost as many things on this listing as was on our transfers. These are all the zombie poles, zombie telephone poles that are in Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery. I got a call from Orange and Rockland. They are on it. They are going to try and remove these poles as soon as possible. So, again, I have this in my office. Anybody wants to see the list, see if the pole in front of their house is the zombie pole. Now, and of course, you all know what zombie poles are, right? That's that extra pole that they left there if they took wires off of them, or they may still have Verizon wires on them. But this is going to be taken care of in the very near future. The town board has an agreement for shared services between the town and the village highway departments. Did anyone review it, or anyone think it's okay, or have any problems with it?
I took a cursory look at it, not in great depth.
Okay, I gave a copy to the village, so let's anticipate our next meeting approving it as long as the village approves it. Justin?
Yes, I spoke with village council, and she anticipates their approval with, just as we discussed, a renewal function, so that the last one expired without renewing, so this would contain the renewal terms.
So everyone knows what I'm talking about is, let's just say the village has a street sweeper, and we'd like to borrow it for some reason down in Fort Montgomery. Well, we don't really have an agreement at this time to do so with the liabilities and who's going to fix it if it breaks and what have you. So this agreement is very extensive, and it allows us to do things like that. If we need an extra truck, or if they need an extra truck, it's just so we work together, both highway departments. Okay. As was mentioned, the new sanitation truck, which cost us, Kelly, how much did that cost us?
I think it was $386.
$386,000.
A little high.
And part of that was a grant, correct? That's not all out of our pocket, am I wrong? I'm wrong, it's all money out of the district. Okay. Well, there was a grant somewhere, but it wasn't that, that's fine. Yeah, okay. So this truck should be arriving within a few weeks or so. Town board is aware that we were going to cancel it, but out of advice from our attorney, at this point in time, we're not able to cancel it without losing a lot of money. The Consolidated ZBA has an attorney. Her name is Elise Terhune. The village approved hiring her as the attorney for the Consolidated ZBA. They also need our approval, the town board's approval. So would anybody like to make?
Discussion after a motion in a second? Just a
Yeah,
short discussion?
absolutely.
So I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
In all my years of planning and zoning, I've gone to all the courses. I recommend anybody associated with it do the same. See Mr. Ramus out there, I know he's done the same thing. And those are town-run departments, even though the ZBA uses the same attorney as the village. I'd like to talk about that for just a moment. These planning courses, they will teach you very clearly that you cannot dictate which attorney or engineer they're going to use. They have the right to choose their own. And in the case of Justin with the planning board, that works out rather handsomely. He knows us, he's been doing it since like 2007 or wherever he came here. So as a liaison, I never had to report to somebody else what happened. The zoning board of appeals, sometimes they have matters that Justin has to become cognizant of. So although Elise communicates and whatnot, that's just a pain in the butt for me to have to do that. And so I think I'm going to vote to approve her when we take the vote. I just want to let people know that we can't tell them who they're going to use. We can cut their budget if we want to, but we can't tell them who they're going to use. They have the right to do that. And they also teach you, when I had an attorney named Michael Donnelly, they used to teach at the planning board, and he said, if you're on the ZBA, and Lou DeSenza, God rest his soul, who I replaced, wrote something or doctored something or created something, you are not to call him up and ask him what he meant. You're to read it yourself and interpret it and use your attorney to do so. So I'm going to recommend people vote yes, and that's just the way the world works in New York State.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments? I have a motion to appoint Elise Trahan as attorney for the Consolidated ZBA, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Okay. Tonight, we interviewed a police officer. The police officer's name is Rhonda Wallach. Do I have a motion to hire Rhonda?
Second.
At the salary schedule, and with, what do you call it, probation, with full probation. I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Chief, would you let Rhonda know that the town board has hired her? Wasn't there one more person, I don't mean tonight or anything like that, but wasn't there another person, two people that were candidates?
The other one was there was already a motion to hire him.
Oh, okay.
So we went through his background.
Yeah.
There was a second one who the town board interviewed with him, who is unable to initiate his background at this time. He's currently deployed, floating around in the Mediterranean. So he may get, when he gets back from his deployment, he may, again, express an interest, but
Okay.
he was also approved for hire.
Thank you, thank you. And along that line, Justin made some amendments to the police contract, correct? Proposed amendments to the police
Right,
contract.
we have proposed amendments
Which
that...
will incorporate 3 full-time police officers. Once we get this approved by the PBA, then we'll ask for the list and go about trying to hire 3 full-time police officers.
Correct, but so we're just right at the beginning of the negotiation
Yes.
process, right? So it'll take a little bit of time, but they're anticipating receiving the proposal.
Okay. Then now, do you need a motion from us?
I just wanted to
move it?
no, I think you authorized me to send it previously. I just wanted the board to have eyes on it to make sure that there weren't issues that they had trouble with.
Okay. Public comment on anything? Anybody? Mr. Ramus, I apologize for not introducing you. I normally introduce members from the village board or planning board or whatever, but I neglected you, and it was not on purpose.
It's okay, Mr.
Thank you for coming to our meeting.
Actually, I do have one quick thing.
Sure.
That I heard this evening, so I was just coming on to listen, but I think I brought this up in the past, so Jim Ramus, as a resident though, you talked about the recyclable cans. And I've noticed in many of the villages and towns that I have or do work in, that they have some that are color-coded. Some are pink, and that's for breast cancer awareness, and some are colored for the actual sports teams from the local high schools. So maybe that's something that we could think about. Now, I know it's going to cost a little more, but if somebody wanted to order that, they could pay extra, and maybe we'd get a little bit of color out on the sidewalk instead of those ugly green cans. Just my suggestion.
Thank you. Don't sit down yet, Jimmy. So I don't pretend to know everything, and I saw that the Village of Highland Falls recently got a $4.5 million grant, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. From
New York. We're not a part of that, or I don't know anything about it. Can you touch upon it at all?
Yeah, briefly. So it's like a DRI. So generally, we've applied in the past for the $10 million grant. We came so close for the village, and it's downtown revitalization.
Okay.
So with that being said, I I didn't go down to the White Plains ceremony, and the governor said that a small village doesn't know how to spend $10 million. Well, I think we would have, but that's okay. $4.5 million is a good number. So we have somebody from the governor's office that we are going to be working with on the actual things that we can spend it on. We gave suggestions in the beginning to apply for this, and we are also going to speak with some of the other villages that have gotten this, so we don't fall into the same traps that they did. So that's where we are on that for the moment.
Congratulations and thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone? Public comment?
I would just like to quickly relay that the video and the sound quality is not coming through on the live channel 23.
We're aware.
I don't know if, there was actually recently, maybe a few weeks ago, a really nice article, letter to the editor regarding the live video feed. Maybe it's time to switch to something else.
I brought that letter up at our last meeting.
Exactly.
That was an excellent letter, and that letter I sent to the Spectrum, and kind of explained to them that, hey, this is part of your business. If you can't get Channel 23, why have Spectrum? Because there are other avenues. So we're on it, and you're on it.
Trying to find an engineer that will come here again, that knows this kind of equipment, is what's been the challenge. Today, I tried doing a test run, doing a live feed through YouTube. We don't have the proper gear. It's one piece of equipment, from what I can tell, that makes the camera talk to the laptop, which therefore can stream. So hopefully by the next meeting, through an order with Amazon, we'll get that little modulator thing, and hopefully we can go live on YouTube. The town has a YouTube account, do we pay for that?
No.
Oh, but it's all enabled. We can post, we can stream. If I went into the account settings today and I saw the green check marks in the right boxes. So I know it's a little troubling. When I did the test on trying to get that to work today, Channel 23 was working 100%. So it comes and it goes. Mostly it goes. So I know a lot of people do want to watch it live, but Kelly and our team here are very diligent about posting this video first thing tomorrow. So it is, again, readily available the day after. I hope in the next course of a month, I have answers that will satisfy everybody. Hopefully, we'll be live on YouTube in the next meeting in 2 weeks. Oh, thanks.
I do have one more piece.
It pains me, believe me.
I have one more piece of business that I skipped. The town board discussed reappointing Kurt Hahn as our emergency action coordinator at an annual salary of $1,314. Do I have a motion to reappoint Kurt Hahn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you. Anything else I missed? Does anybody know anything? We're all right? Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session in my office right after its approval, and we will not come back to another public session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I thought I was going to get away with it tonight. Thank you.